Hey everybody, it's Brian McIntosh here. I'm with the Columbia Valley MakerSpace, and I wanted just to show you around my father's personal, what you would call MakerSpace. And once we have a look around, you'll know why I'm so interested in MakerSpaces. So enjoy the tour. So here we are. I'm just going to give you a quick tour of what this particular shop, or in our case, we'll call it a MakerSpace, is and what's in it. So we've got, start off with a whole pile of wood tools, fasteners, screws, nuts, bolts, wood material, lots of little bits and pieces. You never know what you're going to use it for, but there you go. We've got the metal stock area, so there's all sorts of metal and pipes and metal stock, aluminum, steel pieces that you would use for, whatever. This is a band saw, which you can put a big huge piece of metal in and cut automatically. You can cut through slowly, but automatically cut through big pieces of metal. There's another sander, various pieces of metal stock. A lot of this is brass, which he uses a lot in the model making, which we'll get to, and more pieces, bits sorted out, little screws, nuts, bolts, all sorts of various and sundry things. A few little bits of chargers, batteries, things like that. You've got typical bolts, nuts, all sorted out so you can find them. Motors and all sorts of things. Shop vacs, very important. Some tools right there. This is a milling machine, so you can cut channels in steel, other metals. You can set up a little motor to move the little platform back and forth. This is all very manual, not a CNC machine, but this is what a CNC machine would be based on if you could automate it. Drill press, very important. Another area of the tools. Clamps galore, lots of cutting and sanding tools. We've got bench grinders, and this is the metalworking area. So this is the metal lathe, which it's the workhorse of a lot of the metalworking that happens here. It's been modified years ago. Beautiful little Myford lathe. And so that's kind of the metal working area. So we'll just move out into the interesting bit. These are all handmade models that run off of steam or air. They are all metal, done with rough castings that you would start off with and machine them all down, put all the parts together. This is his pride and joy, which is a Britannia class steam engine. I forget the scale of it, but the track it's sitting on is about 4 or 5 inches from rail to rail. And this is a handmade, not a model. The only thing that came with this was the actual trucks. Everything else is handmade. This is the second engine that he made. It's a Canadian railway engine. Some cars that are the same scale give you an idea of what the real car and the real engine would look like. there's a handmade old pool elevator. They all disappeared in Saskatchewan, and he thought he'd preserve the idea. Again, there's the model of the local rail old train station next to some track that he runs some model trains on, and these are pretty big. This is not an HO scale, but a fairly big scale. And we've got some more handmade towers, a water tower, and a coal tower. These are all handmade from plans that he created. These were not kits. None of this stuff I'm showing you are kits. That was on the front of a British steam engine in England. There's a picture of the actual steam engine with the same sign on the front. I don't know if you can see that. We made a model of our house in Invermere, which he did from the plans of our house. If you look inside, there's our island and our wood stove and the log stairway that goes upstairs to the loft. Very nice little model. And this one's under plastic, but this is a model of the Minto, which is a steam wheeler or a steam ship that was in British Columbia on the rivers. And beautiful model. When we move on to the rest of the lab, if you will, there was a bunch of structures that were built, that he built, again from plans that he created. This is an old pool that was, these were all constructed for an anniversary in Saskatchewan, so these are all old structures that are long gone, but very much historic, and people who, you know, saw these things were fascinated because they were able to look into these and see pretty much exactly what they saw when they went in here and swam. So that's a pool. We've got a pool. We've got an old CBC broadcast transmitter where my father worked for years. Again, details inside this were exactly what you would see if you stood inside this thing. Again, these are all just models he did from memory and sketching and things like that. There's the old school he went to in a very famous local building called Danceland, and a local church. And then we've come around to sort of the electrical area. So there's a number of old instruments from aircraft, lots of electronic components sorted by type, and then we've got a lot of smaller nuts, bolts, screws for a lot of smaller work, a nice little bench, soldering iron, small vise for holding things while you're building them, and just various bits and pieces. Another train model that he has behind glass, and just various bits and pieces of models and trains, and just various bits and pieces of stuff that's been collected over the years, built over the years. And there's an old steam tractor. These ones are purchased. These two are old steam tractors. And then another sort of work area, lots of gears, various pieces of bits and pieces, more places for uh, parts, some storage, another little work area with air. So the place has air, a nice air pump, and a large, behind those cabinets are loads of reference material, books, things that have been collected over the years, and another bench area where there's more paperwork, design work. This is a beautiful tractor that he built from scratch, again from his own plans. This was started off as some pieces, bicycle pieces, solid pieces of brass, and he just created these from some original plans for a steam tractor. And if this is again can be powered up, it all works. You can run compressed air in it. And this is his own version of a very famous steam engine called the Rocket, which is one of the very first actual, I want to say commercial, but it was the actual train that was selected to run on some rails and carry passengers in the UK back in would have been the 1800s. And then of course we've got computers, printers, and of course the latest under construction steam engine that that he is currently working on. So there's a beautiful beautiful machine that he's working on. So there you go. There's a little tour of where I grew up and why I want to be part of a makerspace. Thanks for watching.